Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at S-Class Glenn, who is of course going to be the upcoming gold bricks / gold bars character. You can claim this guy for 10 gold bricks and then you can upgrade him with knives which are claimed via the museum with more gold bricks. It is 40 gold bricks per knife and you need 22 knives, which is a grand total of 880 gold bricks. Yes, that's a lot of gold bricks. Plus the 10 that you need to actually claim Glenn, that's going to be 890. Lots and lots. We're going to have quite a lot, each of us, because we've been gathering these for a little while. But in the meantime, we get to look at how good Glenn is going to be. And visually, this is Glenn just being Glenn. I don't think we're going to expect too much more than what we have here. He's got the baseball cap. He's got more like the baseball shirts. He's got like mechanic / construction belt, shorts and gear on. And he's got the backpack, the S-Class backpack. His stats are non-veteran ring stats, so they are going to be a bit lower than they would be once he is fully released in the tower. But he has got 2,156 attack, 3,234 defense, and 5,392 HP. Now I did say this is without veteran rings. That HP is going to be insane once it has got veteran rings. It's going to be over 6k most likely. That is a huge amount of HP. He has got the highest HP rating out of all the S-Class characters so far, I believe. Now as we go to his class, he is an alert character, which I think a lot of people would be surprised at or disappointed just based on the other characters that have been available in the crate in the past. A lot of people assumed that Glenn would be a fast character, but he's going to be alert. That's the way it's going to be. His role is support, and we'll go across to that adrenaline rush. It is called controlling the pace. 76 AP cost. Up to 2 enemies get dazed for 2 turns. All enemies get minus 40 AP. So this rush is quite a heavy controlling rush, obviously. If you can get it to go off quite often, very, very frustrating to attack against. This guy is going to be more of a defense team character because, I guess you could use him as a support character on an attack team, but realistically you'd want to use more of an offensive character. His rush kind of reminds me of like a weakened version of Lao Po and a Zachary in the 6-star era, but just not as strong, obviously. The minus AP is unavoidable. It is guaranteed to take AP from the enemy. It is all enemies. You cannot resist this. So that is pretty strong. The daze, of course, can be resisted. Not too many characters will run daze resist. Not too many characters need to run daze resist. So there is that as well. I think the rush, again, could have had something a little bit more meaty in there, just to buff Glenn himself, particularly as he is an alert character, and I think most people look at alert characters as just being absolute fodder for the likes of Priya and other heavy hitting tough characters, especially with the armory upgrade. Lots of damage output from those tough characters. I think a heavy self-defense buff would have been nice, like 100% defense for 2 turns, making him just like meat shield basically. But his rush is as we see it, so he's just more of a controlling character. We'll look at the active skill, and this is where it could have really been picked up, but it is disarm and nothing else. It has an initial cooldown of 2, number of uses 5. Target enemy gets disarmed for 2 turns. So in a way, this could be powerful. You could use this if you're brand new to the game on an attack team. It's going to make shields less of an issue for you. Obviously, there are going to be very frustrating weapons on defense teams. Impair on defense, stun on defense, absolute defense. Very hard to get through these windowless teams where there's no free AP gain. There's all these weapons on every single character. Glenn will help you there potentially on an attack team. On a defense team, you don't necessarily want this to go off, to be honest. The only characters you want to disarm are tough characters, and you don't really want Glenn to be attacked by tough characters. So I don't know, it's kind of a strange one. You don't get any AP on the active skill either, so he's obviously going to lose turns for that rush. He's going to have to be commanded, so not really a great active skill in my opinion. I think something here that could have been quite nice would have been maybe a taunt or a confuse, or just something that can disrupt the enemy a little bit. Even if it was only to 1 character. Confusing 1 character for 2 turns I think is more useful than a disarm, just because it can be used on a defense team. Now we'll go across to the specialist skill, and I think neutralize that he has is probably a tier 1 specialist skill. I think it's the first S-Class character with neutralize. When this character attacks a human enemy that has 80% or more adrenaline, that enemy will be impaired for 1 turn. Impaired characters cannot gain AP or use adrenaline rushes, so pretty much as it says on the tin here, he's going to be able to stop someone from rushing for one turn. Unless they resist it, not many people do run impair resist, and that is actually pretty strong. I like neutralize quite a lot. It's been great to me in the 5-star era, the 6-star era. Haven't really had much usage in the S-Class era just yet, but Glenn coming in could be quite frustrating, especially now that everyone's got Dr. Stevens. Obviously, you can get 2 people their rushes naturally for the second turn. However, Glenn will focus one of these 2 characters that has received their rush and neutralize them, so they won't get their rush for that second turn, which is actually pretty useful. You will be able to cleanse it because it is an impair, and there is 6-star Maggie as the fast character who can cleanse the impair on turn 2, so there is counters to this already. But I do like neutralize. I think it's one of the better, kind of more underappreciated, like lesser seen, if I'm honest, specialist skills. Especially when it comes to defense team AI, it actually works really nicely because they seem to focus somebody who actually can be neutralized the majority of the time. On attack, obviously you are in full control when this happens, so you can neutralize someone or not. It actually lights up when a neutralizer is available, so that's actually pretty nice. Now he has got an attached weapon, and it's Glenn's Sapping Pistol. It has 30% HP, a medium bonus to AP when attacking, and the third slot is AP down when attacking, a better chance to cause minus 30 AP to the enemy. So the first slot is pretty good because he has huge amounts of HP already, and that's just going to boost that HP total up even more. This guy's going to have like easily 10,000 to 12,000 HP geared properly. You're going to have to boost that defense with the combat mods. You want to try and make them as balanced as possible to make him as, meat shieldish as possible. He's got no offensive output on his rush, on his active skill. He's just basic attacks, so you don't want to really increase that attack at all. The second slot is a medium bonus to AP when attacking. You want to increase this to very large or huge, just so he does get that rush off as often as possible, because that's pretty much what he's bringing to the table, that just frustration with his rush going off. Now the third slot is a mixture here. It's okay, but it's also pretty disappointing because it's exactly like the third slot that we got on Erin recently. Erin is an attack team character, and obviously Glenn is a defense team character, but you kind of want to have a little bit of a mix of weapons just for excitement, and I think there could have been a better weapon to be put in his hands here. It could have been something quite unique but not too powerful. For instance, it could have again been something like a taunt or confuse weapon, kind of like we've seen in the past with, let's say, Disarm Michonne, who had a confuse weapon, or the taunt weapon that was on Romanov, the fast character, because most people are probably going to want to replace this with stun anyway for a defense team character. Having some automatic control in that third slot would have been much better, and just like I said, the excitement factor of having a different weapon. But I do love the fact that HP percentage is the stat boost, just because it is nicer to have a percentage boost on your biggest stat, just because it gives you the biggest output, especially when it comes to HP, as HP is a pure stat, whereas defense obviously has diminishing returns. So overall, I think Glenn is kind of like a mixture here. He is definitely more of a defense team character. The issue I have with him is, when I get this character and he's on my roster, I can't really think of a way I'd be using him. But if I had Jackie, who was obviously a very recently released promo character, he could go on a Jackie team pretty nicely. Those teams are probably going to pop off pretty quick because they're going to have AP percentage weapons in the majority of places, and they're going to be, and then that AP drain on that rush will pop off quite quickly, potentially faster than the enemy team. The neutralizer is going to be very, very handy and annoying because there's no real way of stopping that, because it is a basic attack and there's no normalize for turn 1, and obviously that's when he can neutralize people. He can neutralize people turn 1 if they have their rushes close to 80% or more. So I don't mind the rush, even though I think it could have been beefed up a little bit. I think the specialist skill is great. The active skill is a major letdown because it doesn't really work on defense teams, in my opinion, and majority of the time you're not really going to want it to go off. I think Glenn is going to be more a character for the future or brand new people to the game. Although because he doesn't add much damage, he's not going to really add much firepower for new players' rosters. I think initially he is actually kind of worse than Kapoor for newer players, but I think long term he could actually be dangerous in certain team setups. It's just we don't really have those characters to use at the moment in the wider player base. Only a very few amount of people will actually have characters like Jackie, and they're most likely going to use other promos with her anyway. So overall, I think Glenn is kind of average. Out of all of the Golden Bars characters, I would say he's probably the worst. Both James and Krista both served a massive purpose when they originally came out, being big damage dealers. And then we had Angel obviously being a great counter to exhaust those AP game characters. But Glenn doesn't really fit in at the moment. Maybe there's something that's coming down the line that could change that. We'll have to wait and see. Now, like I said in my previous video about Glenn, it's unclear if he's going to be part of a choice box or if it's only going to be possible to claim him. If he's going to go back into the same choice box like the previously released Angel, for instance, who was put into the choice box with Krista and James, we'll have to wait and see. So potentially you could be able to pick one of those 4 characters, or it might only be down to Glenn this time round. But do give me your thoughts on Glenn as an S-Class character. I am actually quite happy that it's going to be Glenn as the character here rather than just some random person who we don't necessarily know. It's kind of cool to potentially get a Glenn character on your roster. Do leave your thoughts in the comments. That is the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.